On the call today, we're fortunate to have our guest. He's known as the Land Geek. His name is Mark Podolsky, and he's also the owner of Frontier Properties. He's completed over 5,000 deals, and he's an investor, he's a coach, and a mentor. Welcome, Mark. How are you?
Darren, I'm rocking the treadmill desk.
I was going to say, I'm just digging this picture here. I don't know if you ever saw, there was a Woody Allen movie years and years ago that, and I don't know what the title was. I just remember there was this execucizer desk he had where there was the, there was a filing cabinet that also acted like a basketball hoop, and the phones had these high power springs that he was always trying to hold up to his, to try and strengthen his head, and he's doing all sorts of things. But you've got the modern day execucizer. I love it there.
Yeah, thank you.
So, well, before we jump into land and how to do investing in land, Mark, could you do us, myself, the guest, or not the guest, you're the guest, the listeners a favor and tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into investing in land?
Yeah, so, before I became a professional land investor, I was working as an investment banker, and I would, specializing in mergers and acquisitions with private equity groups. And enterprise value of say 5 to 500 million. I mean, nothing too big. It wasn't like Goldman Sachs level. So, but I didn't like it, right? I was kind of micromanaged, and I had a 45-minute commute to work and back. Didn't have a lot of control. It was, it was pretty miserable to the point where after doing it a while, instead of getting like the Sunday blues, anticipating Monday coming, I'd get the Friday blues, anticipating the weekend going by really fast, and then Monday coming. So my firm hires this guy, and he's telling me that he goes to these tax deed auctions and he buys up raw land. He throws them up online, and he's averaging 300% returns on his investment. And I'm looking at companies all day long, right? And a great company has over 15% EBITDA margins or free cash flow. Great company. Your average company is at 10%. And I'm looking at companies all day long, less than 10%. So right. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. I'm from the show me state, right? And I'm like, I don't believe you. So he takes me to New Mexico. We go to a tax deed auction. I've got like $3,000 saved up for car repairs at this point. So I just do what he says to do. And I buy up 10 half-acre parcels in this little town in New Mexico at an average price of $300 each. And I just did exactly what he said to do. I put them up online, and I sold them at an average price of $1,200 each, 300%.
Wow.
So I took all that money, and I went to another auction in Arizona. And there's no one in the room, and this is in 2000. No one's in the room, and I'm buying up properties for like nothing. $5, $10, $20. And I just put them all back up online. And in 6 months, I made over $90,000 on that second auction. So I go to my wife. I'm like, honey, I think I should quit my job and be a full-time land investor. She's like, absolutely not. So I said, fine. So I did it part-time for 18 months until the land investing income exceeded the investment banking income. And I quit in 2001. I've been doing it full-time ever since, and I absolutely love it.
Well, I can only...
Now I'm unemployable.
Well, at 300% rate of return, I mean, that's pretty impressive. And I mean, starting with as little as $3,000, you're not exactly, risking your whole future life savings, and that's an impressive turn from a little to a lot in a positive way. And I mean, just when I recognized I was going to have you on the show here, I was trying to think. Just my hesitation on just bare land has always been about it doesn't produce income, and speculation kind of thing. I know guys that are always talking about buying and flipping homes and all that, and it's a business model that works for many people. But I've also recognized that while you're in that process, you're not getting any rent. And you've always got the possibility of sitting there waiting and having your capital out there and having it exposed and possibly mistiming or over investing or whatever. And it's just something I've never really been fully comfortable with. Although I have flipped a property by accident, but it's so I'm just excited to get into hear a little bit more about how it all works. I mean, you've kind of described how you got started in it. What was there anything you were thinking about before you got into doing this as far as land, or was land kind of just it was either investment banking or I'll go to New Mexico with this friend and see how it works?
Well, I mean, because I had such an unbelievable perspective on different companies and different businesses, the fact that I could do this land flipping and make the kind of returns I was making, I couldn't find anything better, right? And I used to always think about, well, what's the perfect business, right? Well, the perfect business has no physical inventory. It would have to be a one-time sale and recurring income, and it'd be non-competitive, and it would be in a niche, right? So this is like the perfect business, and what the way that I sell it, Darren, is very unique, because what we do is we make a cash flow, and we do create passive income with it, but our passive income requires no renters, no rehabs, no renovations, no rodents. So I'll give you an example, right? So, Darren, where do you live?
I'm in Portland, Oregon.
Okay, so I see that you live in Portland, Oregon, and you owe back taxes on a property that you own in Texas, right? So you're already kind of advertising to the world you no longer value that property, because when we value something, we pay for it, right? So I send you a quote unquote top dollar offer of 20 to 30 cents on the dollar based on market comparables. And you're like, well, gosh, I'm so sick of getting these tax notices from the county treasurer. I'll sell Mark my property 20, 30 cents on the dollar. It's better than getting nothing, because if I continue not to pay the taxes, then I'm going to eventually lose it either to a tax deed auction or a tax lien auction, and then eventually to foreclosure, right? And I'm sick of it. It's like, it's what was once an asset to me is now a liability. So I now buy the property from you, and then I sell it on easy terms, right? So what I want to typically do is get my money out on the down payment, or within 6 months of the down payment, and then get this recurring income every single month on owner financing. And because it's owner financing and the time value of money, instead of making a 300% return on my investment, I make over 1,000% return on investment. And because I'm buying it at such a huge margin of safety, right? Even if I only make 800% or 700%, no one's getting mad at me.
Right.
So eventually you have so many of these notes coming in that the passive income exceeds your fixed expenses, and now you're totally free. But unlike the people that have to deal with tenants and toilets and termites, I only have to deal with paper. All I do is shuffle paper and make money. And I really do believe, besides life insurance, because life insurance is just an idea, right? It is the ultimate subscription model.
Interesting. So do you, I guess what I was trying to think is the type of property you're investing in, are there different niches that you identify, that you focus on, that you stay away from?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want Manhattan property. I don't want infill lots.
Right.
I don't want to compete with Warren Buffett or Ted Turner on, $1,000 an acre farmland that they're clipping coupons at 8%. I want properties, 30 miles from the nearest city, maybe in the path of development. I want those more rural type of areas where there's lots of property and values have, not necessarily gone up, right? So the great thing about land, the horrible thing about land, is it's an extremely inefficient market. No one really knows what it's worth. It's really what a buyer and seller agree to, right?
Right.
And that's what's so wonderful about our model. And also, there's so many people that poo-poo it, right? So private equity groups don't like it because it doesn't cash flow. Hedge funds don't like it. It doesn't cash flow. So if you go to a RIA meeting, there'll be 100 people at that meeting. 99 of them are going to be house flippers or wholesalers, right? You and I, you might be the only commercial guy, and or multifamily guy. I'd be the only land guy. So it's very non-competitive in that sense. And there's a massive market. I mean, there's hundreds of millions of properties available and a handful of players. You, me, a million people doing this will all run out of money before we run out of deal flow.
Wow. So the location motto of real estate, 30 miles outside of town is not exactly what I think the moniker means when you say location. How
it does. It's so funny because I used to be a land snob, and I used to think to myself, well, who's going to buy this property in the middle of nowhere? And there's a market for middle of nowhere property. There's preppers out there that are hoping for the best, but preparing for the worst, and they need somewhere to bug out to. There's people that want to use it recreationally, right?
Right.
There's people that want to use it as a legacy investment. Like they just think it's cool to own some property that they can afford, and maybe one day development will happen out there. Maybe not, but they can afford the easy monthly payment of maybe $297 or $397 a month, and it doesn't really touch them. I've got one guy. He's a CEO of a company in San Diego. Every year he buys property from me, and he's like, Mark, I just want to pay $5,000 a month. He just does owner financing, $5,000 a month, and he just buys property. I'm like, well, what are you going to do out there? He's like, nothing. He never even visits the property. He just thinks it's cool to own land in the same way like some people think it's cool to buy a shot glass, right? So I don't judge. I once bought a property. I made a mistake in due diligence on the side of a mountain. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's the side of a mountain. It's 40 acres. 20 acres of it are maybe usable. Right? So I put it up on eBay. And I thought, oh, if I can just get the $2,500 back on that property, I'll be okay. First day it got bid up to $2,500. 10 days on the auction, it went to $32,500. And now I'm sweating, right?
Oh my
now
God.
I'm really scared. The guy pays me immediately. And I call him. I'm like, well, what are you going to do on this property? I'm like, you realize it's on the side of a mountain? He's like, it's perfect. He's like, I'm a director in LA, and I want to film out there, and I don't want to have to deal with permits. I want to own it. And at $32,000, it's really cheap. So, and now I got 20 acres I can play on. So for him, it was perfect.
Well, that's awesome because I mean, you think about that. What's that? The oceanfront property in Arizona, or whatever the song title goes, or however the line and the melody goes. But I guess my thoughts when I first was thinking of you, I always thought maybe you were picking up like lots, inside cities and stuff. Not at all. Have you ever bought anything besides these properties further out of town?
I have, but typically what happens is it's a smaller buyer pool, right? Because if I'm going to buy an infill lot, the only people who are really going to buy it are the developer that wants to put a house on it, or maybe the neighbor, right?
Right.
I want to have property with the biggest buyer pool possible, right? So like nobody wakes up and thinks to themselves, boy, I'd really love to own some property in Minnesota, unless you live in Minnesota, right?
Right.
But people want property in Texas and California and Oregon and Washington and Nevada and Colorado and Arizona and Florida, the Sunshine States, areas that are growing, right? Areas that have tons of property that have not been developed yet. And so, and then, from a competition standpoint, if I'm going after infill lots, right? Well, if I'm fairly sophisticated, I'm going to go to a broker. I'm not going to just sell it 23 cents a dollar. Like I know this has value, right? This is an inefficient market when it comes to infill lots. So you can make money doing that strategy, but not as much as, the way that I do it.
So really the inefficiency in the marketplace is what really enables you or not the only thing, but it's one of the key ingredients to this whole marketplace, and that you have a distressed seller who's already being pestered, that, like you said, if you're in Oregon and the property's in Texas, you've lost interest. How can I make this go away? And then how do you do your valuations? You mentioned you do 20 to 30%.
So I look at a comp. So I
Okay.
look at recent sales, and I'll divide by 4,
Okay.
and that's what I'll offer. That gets me to 300%, and that gets me a margin of safety.
Okay.
Right. So I know for sure if I want to flip it, I'll make at least 300%, and if I want to seller financing because of time value of money, I can go up to 1,000%.
So, what is the average hold time on one of your properties? You go pick one up at the auction.
We
You
we sell about 30 days or less.
You're kidding.
No,
30 days.
30 days because we make it irresistible. Everyone can afford it.
So you buy. What's an average size of a property that you buy?
Let's say 5 to 40 acres.
Okay. And clearly, you've already demonstrated it can be vertical or horizontal ground. It doesn't have to be, crop ground or and like you said, so it's not even like people identifying something where they want to go develop or put their dream house. It's just whatever. I mean, that's for the buyer, I guess, to decide what they want to do. That's you
Yeah,
buy.
it's for the buyer to decide, and I learned the hard way after watching a buddy of mine, sell off a bunch of lots that I thought were just the ugliest things in the world in the middle of nowhere, and he kept emailing me sale after sale after sale, and then I'd keep emailing him back. I'm like, a refund.
Yeah.
And then I'd email him back again. I'm like, refund/lawsuit. And sure enough, after he made 100 grand and there were no refunds and there were no lawsuits, I thought, well, if there's a pig for every barn, there's a pig for every barn. I'm not going to judge.
Yeah. With the quick sale of these, I mean, less than 30 days, do you do any kind of 1031 or do you just pay the taxes and keep moving on? That's just kind of your new income.
Yeah, I use an EQRP, a qualified retirement plan, if I want to get the tax benefits of it. So we'll flip in a Roth or we'll flip in a SEP, right, or a 401k.
Okay.
That's the only real benefit of taxes. You can't depreciate raw land. So in that sense, there is a flaw in the model unless you're going to use some type of qualified retirement plan vehicle or self-directed IRA to buy and sell raw land in. So in that sense, multifamily would have an advantage from a tax perspective if you're just coming at this looking at it like that. However, it's a volume business. We do a lot of small deals. We don't take a lot of risk. I've had clients, my gosh, they've done dual closings. They've locked up property for nothing. A buddy of mine, Jeff Axton, is a full-time firefighter. He bought a 640-acre parcel for 15 grand. He flipped it for 150. But but in the multifamily world, $15,000,
Want to
is
get
nothing.
you a down payment, yeah.
You spend more than that on due diligence. I spent $11 on due diligence.
Right. So are you limited geographically? You mentioned some places that you like to go, kind of sunshine states, but do you limit your territory, or do you?
I want to stay away from EPA type areas like New Jersey. So
No brownfields or
no brownfields, no Superfund sites. I like the West Coast. I like Florida. Have I done deals in Arkansas and Oklahoma? Yeah, I've done deals there, but Pennsylvania. But I don't really look there, right? If it comes my way and I can buy it 23 cents a dollar and I can sell it and make money, then sure. But otherwise, that's not the focus. I want the biggest buyer pool possible.
Right. You mentioned all the negatives that it doesn't have. You talked about rodents and termites, and I can't remember what you had some T's and some R's in there that
Renters,
toilets,
rehabs, renovations, and rodents.
What do you do? Are you concerned at all with insurance? I mean, any kind of trip and fall, or is it more a matter of just the fact that it's in and out so fast? It's raw land. It's out there. I mean, I know as an insurance agent, I know we're always asking our customers if they have any raw land. I know it's very, very, very inexpensive. If they do, then you can add it to your policy. But if you're in and out and you're doing it in your own name, I would assume you might have some coverage if you're operating as you, Mark, as opposed to an LLC or something like that. You could have some coverage over through your homeowner's policy or something like that. I don't know if that's a concern.
Yeah, I do. I have an umbrella policy. I have a business umbrella, but
Okay.
I also buy and sell in my company name.
Okay. Got it. Well, now you do mentoring and coaching in this as well.
I do. I do. I love that piece of it because, after you've been doing something for as long as I have, I've been buying and selling land for 16 years. Nobody's ever thanked me for
Really?
changing their life
Oh,
after buying and selling, a piece of land. But my Land Geek students, they get very emotional, and I've replaced Fortune 300 incomes and retired people and retired spouses, and really moved the needle in people's lives. And it's I can now die in peace professionally, knowing that I've made a difference, and it's really gratifying.
what is the average student you work with? I mean, when you have somebody come to you and get involved, what are they spending as far as time, money to get started?
Yeah, probably less than $1,000 in 2 hours a day to get started. We've got it 90% automated now with software. So I personally, I'm a good example. I did 192 deals last year. I worked 2 hours a week in Frontier Properties. So it's just a machine at this point because we have software and automated. I don't have to go out and visit the property. We have systems and processes, and it's the best time ever to be in business.
So, are you ever working through a broker then, or are you always working directly with the seller?
For sale by owner. I never work with a broker. I would say never. It's really rare because if you're think about it from a broker's point of view, right? They want to sell houses. They want
Right.
to sell $200,000, $300,000 houses. They don't want to deal with a $10,000 piece of land. There's no money in it for them.
Right, right. No, it makes sense. I was just trying to think of all of the different angles of possibilities. Well, at 2 hours a week, you've got Tim Ferriss and the 4 hour work week beat all to heck there. That's pretty impressive. So, what? How long does it usually take for somebody getting started to start having success?
On average, you got to figure, you're going to start county research. You're going to get a list. You're going to scrub the list. You're going to send out your mailings. That could be 30 days, right? Let's figure another 30 days to get the properties and the deal flow back. And then you start doing your due diligence. So I would say on average 60 to 90 days before you see your first deal.
And what are you students that are in it a year? What would you expect? Somebody's doing their time and scrubbing. You mentioned the one guy making a $15,000 purchase and selling it for 150. I think most people would think like, oh my God, but what kind of expectations would you have for somebody getting started in this?
After 12 months, we expect them to be doing at least 10,000 a month in active and passive income combined.
Okay. Well, that's pretty incredible. The clearly the multifamily marketplace has been all the buzz here as of the last couple of years, and after the big mortgage debacle and everybody now renting and all that, and it's almost like you're on an island by yourself there, out there in the middle of the woods, finding these properties and distressed no less, and able to turn them. I'm just saying, what do you have a buyer's list, or is it just a marketplace that you're able to put them up on, or what's the secret sauce there?
Yeah. So the secret to marketing is you've got a built-in best buyer, right? And that the housing guys don't have, and the multifamily guys don't have. It's the neighbor.
There
They
you
send
go.
out a neighbor letter, and they have the fear of missing out. And who's going to be my neighbor? Now, if the neighbor passes, then I go to my buyer's list, right? Because they already know, like, and trust me. They've already bought property from me, or I already know that they're interested in property. If the neighbors pass and the buyer's list passes, then I go to a little website that you probably never heard of called Craigslist. That's free to post on, right?
Right.
And then people are doing amazingly well in these buy-sell groups on Facebook. That's free to post on. And then there's landandfarm.com, and there's landsofamerica.com, and there's landflip.com, there's landhub.com. There's land and, wait, did I say land and farm?
Well, farm and land or land and farm. I don't know which
Yeah, I
one
mean,
you said.
there's
Yeah.
and then there's these big sites that list land, and so you want to go where the market is, right? It's really rare when someone just goes to my website and buys a piece of land.
Do you list? Do you have listings on your website?
Yeah, I do,
Yeah.
but just a smattering because there was a study done and of a jam company, right? So they have jams out front, and so the jam store had 40 jams, and then the other jam store had 7 jams, right? Well, the jam store that had 40 jams listed had a lot more traffic than the jam store that had 7 jams. But the jam store that had 7 jams had a lot more sales because
Right.
a confused mind is a mind that won't make think act.
Yep. I've been there. The inability to make a decision when you got too many things to decide on. Well, this has been very educational here, Mark. I'm intrigued. I am a committed investor and have been so for, well, I'd say longer than you have as far as investing, but I've always done it more in some sort of residential property where there's either single family or multifamily, or the occasional, and I say very occasional. The accidental flip is probably the regular or the more correct way to say that, but. This is really encouraging. I'm guessing that there will be a lot of people that hear this and would like to hear more. Mark, is there a summary statement you'd like to give? Is there can you sum this up for us?
As far as the business model, or
Well, the opportunity, I guess.
I mean, I'd say if you want to learn more about it, go to thelandgeek.com, and I'm going to have a link on the site, be like thelandgeek.com/Darren Gross. And just for your listeners, I'll have a link for them to get for free our $97 passive income launch kit program. And that'll really give them, enough information to kind of get going and get educated and sleep well at night, knowing that if they want to try it, they're not going to make a big mistake.
No, that's great. I appreciate you doing that. As far as the model goes, and I didn't mean to stop short here. The model, if I understand it, basically you get the list, you scrub the list, you do some mailers, and is it direct mail? Is that your primary?
Yeah, I don't want to be in the appraisal business, so I don't say to people I'm interested in buying your property. I actually put a number of what I would pay for that property,
Okay.
and it's take it or leave it. So we get about a 3 to 5% response rate on our mailers. If it's over 5%, I probably offer too much, and if it's under 3%, I might be insulting the market a bit.
Got it. And then as the process, so you get your list, you send out your mailer. 30 to 60 days, you expect 3% kind of return as far as calls on the list. What's an average list size that you start with?
I mean, I like to send out at least 20 offers a day because it's really easy to do and it's really, simple. I've got a lot of clients, they make a living off of 3 counties or 2 counties. You don't need a massive amount of properties to mail to because it's such a big market. I mean, there's one county in Texas that has 30,000 delinquent lots. I mean, how many could you and I buy, right?
Well, or how many neighbors want to buy those lots? That's the
Well, no, the neighbors don't want them. Neighbors don't want them, so you got to go out to the market. But that's okay as long as there's a market. So, and that's the other thing about it is that you don't have to ever buy the property, right? So if it's you can lock it up on an option. You can extend your due diligence, start putting out test ads on Craigslist, engage the market, right? And then do a dual close. So you don't have to use any of your own money out of pocket. So I'm really risk averse. I don't want to just start buying property in the middle of nowhere and hope someone buys it. I want to know definitively there's deals there before I buy the property.
People that want it. So you do a fair amount of lock up the property on an option.
Yeah, absolutely.
How long do you usually tie those up for?
95 days.
95 days. Okay, that seems reasonable. And then, so you get your 20 a day. That's pretty cost effective there. Do you do postcards or do you letters?
I do letters. We've split test postcards. We've done letters. We've done like, nice letters that say, hey, I'm Mark Podolsky, the Land Geek, and I really like your property, and this is why we're doing this, versus, my letter, which is kind of terse, like, here's your property, here's my offer, here's where you accept it, here's my out, sign it, let's go. We'll close in 7 days.
No, that's perfect. I mean, simple to the point. It's funny. I've done a fair amount of email marketing, and I remember the first time doing it was the letter. I was the guy I was working with. I was going, "You're going to put my name to that?" I mean, that's just, like, hey, you buy insurance and it's expensive. You're an idiot. I mean, that was the way I read it, kind of thing. But I was shocked it worked, and again, kind of like you said, it was kind of felt terse, but it was direct. Well, from there, is it off to the title office you go? Is there any attorneys involved, or is it a pretty simple land sale agreement?
It's really simple. If it's 5,000 or less, we'll close directly with the seller. If it's 5,000 or more, we'll go through title company.
Okay.
If we need a deed, we'll go to deeds.com.
Okay. And remote signature, do you do DocuSign and all that, or do you send them through the mail, or how do you facilitate that?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on where we are in the deal flow. So if it's a seller that I'm buying property from, it'll be through the mail, right? And then we might have a mobile notary go out and help them, facilitate the transaction where they'll sign the deed, we'll record it with Simplifile, get confirmation it's been recorded, and then give them a check for the property, and now we own it, right? Mm-hmm. Or but on the actual, when we're selling property, we do a purchase sale agreement, a land contract, as opposed to a deed of trust. So the property stays in my name until they pay off their promissory note. So it's a purchase sale agreement, land contract, and promissory note, because there's no cost of foreclosure with a land contract.
Right. What kind of a rate of interest are you able to charge on your contracts?
12.9% down to 0%. Depends on the property and the market.
But you said you like to get the your purchase price as a down payment. Is that?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's ideal.
So you said you sold, was it 192 deals last year?
192, right.
192. How many do you carry? I mean, if those ones were sales, how many or does that include contracts you're carrying?
Yeah, that includes contracts. So, I have a company called LoanGeek.io, which actually automates the note collection. So it's a set and forget it system. So we actually manage our notes with software. We have hundreds in there. I can't even tell you how many we have, but it's significant. I really only like to do owner financing today because if I need cash, I'll sell, let's say, 12 months of that cash flow to an investor, right? And then I'll get my money out and I'll redeploy it. And then that passive income will come back to me in 12 months. So I keep that passive income machine rolling. So I'll buy notes and I'll sell notes.
Oh, right. But you don't actually sell the full note, just the like a year's worth of the payments.
Just a year's worth of payments. Yeah, I don't want to undersell. I want to keep my
That's
passive
genius.
income growing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Derek.
Yeah. Well, how long? What's the average terms as far as the length of a contract you'll carry?
I've got some notes that are 5 years. I got some notes that are 30 years. So
really,
between 5 and 30 years. Oh yeah.
Wow. So do you have? Is it a fixed rate then all through, or do you have, on a 30-year one? Are you going a 5-year balloon, or is it just? I mean,
I keep it really simple.
Gotcha.
We'll do typically on average about 8.7% on a 30-year fixed rate. No penalty for prepayment. If they pay it off in 2 years or less, we'll give them a discount.
Okay. So 2 hours a week in this business, I got to ask you, what are you doing the other 38 and a half hours of the week that you used to, or at least you said you're an investment banker, so I should say the 78 to 102 hours a week that you used to put into the work.
Right. So I time theme my week, right? So Monday is my day to work on the business. So I read, I'll go out, I have a date with my wife. I've got 3 kids. So I'll take the kids to school. I have a date with my wife. We'll go out for coffee in the morning, and then that afternoon I'll read, I'll research, I'll work out, I'll meditate. I'll do kind of whatever I want to do, and then the kids come home around 2:30ish, and then by that time I might say hi to them, and then I might do some more reading, and I'm usually done by 4 o'clock on Monday. Tuesday is podcast day, so all day long I'm doing my podcast, which is the Art of Passive Income model podcast. Wednesday is my meeting day, so I have team meetings, right? So I've got my virtual assistant team. I've got my acquisition manager team with Frontier Properties. I've got my Land Geek team. I have Land Geek coaches. So I'm in meetings, and I'll do even more podcasts if someone like you wants to interview me on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, it's back to client day. So it's all about taking care of clients on Thursday for people in Land Geek. And then in the morning is clients, and then that afternoon is working on the business and thinking. And then Friday morning is more thinking and reading and working on the business. And then Friday afternoon is a hot date with my wife. And that brings us into the weekend, which is for the family. And I love it. That's my week.
That's awesome. When you mention your clients, I think it was Thursday was the client day. Is that clients that you're coaching? Is that clients that have bought properties from you? Is it?
It might be all the above. It's how can I be delightful, right? How can I be delightful? So, I want to delight everyone I meet, and everyone I'm in contact with. So certainly my clients, right? So my coaching clients, I'll check in on them. I'll see how things are going with them. My Frontier Properties clients, right? Do you want more property? How are things going, right? And that types of things. And then, meeting just with maybe a developer if they can't meet on Wednesday, then because we're doing a lot of software stuff now, so that might be on Thursday.
Cool. And do you have any partners you work with, or is it just you? Or
well, on a deal by deal basis, I'll have certain partners on certain projects, but for the most part, everything's 100% owned by me. But within certain parts of it, I might have a partner, let's say on a software project, right? But typically, no, I don't partner too much.
Software, is this for your business that are you selling, or is this software that you're using in your business? What do you do?
So I use it for myself, and then I sell it to my clients, so that any pain point that I have, I solve via automation and then pass on to my clients if they want it.
Well, your schedule is very appealing, from the time spent in the business to the time thinking. I think that's one of the things that so many of us get caught up in, is the doing or working in the business rather on the business kind of thing, which has always been the appeal to me in real estate, is the opportunity to have some income that is not dependent upon you working in the business, but actually it's that kind of that passive feel to it. And Mark, your systems are just I'm sitting there just trying to think, man, I've got to figure this out here, and I need to talk with Mark after this a little bit more on how to get into some more of the bare land outside of town there, and figure out how to market that, because that's you brought up you've clearly made me think, and I'm certain you've made the listeners think here, and want to know more about it. Mark, other than your interesting time off during the week and your 2 hours in the business and the hundreds of deals you're doing, and do you just go to the mailbox? Is it all direct deposit? Is that
it's all done through loangeek.io, so it's all automated. So we take credit cards automatically, we take ACH automatically. If one fails, we have 2 payments on file. It'll automatically charge the other one on file. So I always have a backup, right? So 2 is 1 is none. It's like, that's what I teach everybody. 2 is 1 is
none.
Right. So we always have to have systems. My VA team is always training their backup. And, look, it wasn't like flipping a switch. I mean, it's not like I started this in 2001 and 2002. I was fully automated, and this has taken years and years and years. I make it look easy now. Trust me, it ain't easy.
Well, but you've stayed with it, and like you said, putting in the time to thinking about it, to be able to identify those pain points and how to solve them. I think that's one of the things that I've recognized many times in business is that, you get that level of frustration. I'll just do it myself, and next thing you know, instead of taking that extra time to teach somebody else how to do it, you're stuck there doing it yourself over and over and over again, and never getting out of the way of progress there, and you're limiting yourself. And,
yeah. I mean, I always say to myself, I can always make more money. I can't get more time. So how can I create more time?
Right.
And because ultimately, when we look at happiness study after happiness study, the only thing that really makes people happy is the quality of the relationships. So what can I do to make my relationship stronger? Well, I need to spend time on them. I've got to be present with my kids. I've got to be present with my wife. And the only way I can do that is if I build these systems and processes so that I can have passive income to do the things I really love in life.
Right. Wow. Well, Mark, I'm impressed. I'm just I know the lifestyle of the investment banker. How many hours were you putting in then when you were doing the investment banking?
80 to 100. I hated it.
Were you in New York, or where were you based?
No, I was in a boutique firm out in Phoenix.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know that that's kind of a dog eat dog world, and competitive there, and so compared to what you're doing now, I can't imagine the shift in your lifestyle. But I'm guessing the T-shirt on the treadmill wasn't an option when you were working in the investment bank.
No, not at all. It's yeah. It's funny when every day is the weekend. It's great.
That's great. Well, Mark, I am thankful for you to take the time today, and I will list all the contact information for you. If you don't mind, again, it's thelandgeek.com. Is that the website?
Yeah, the landgeek.com, and I'll have a special page just for your listeners.
Okay. And we'll put that in the link there, or in the show notes as well. Mark, I want to say thanks for doing this, and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thanks, Darren. I appreciate it.
All right.